The Lower Muskogee Creek Tribe is headquartered at Tama Reservation, which is located in the southwest corner of Georgia. Tama is the largest community of a membership of over 2,500. The second largest community of tribal members is in northwest Florida in Washington County. These tribal communities have maintained their tribal identities despite the removal and the oppressive laws made against them. The Muskogee people were dwellers of the swamp and given the nickname of Creeks by the Europeans because they lived along the banks. This area would provide the Muskogee people the resources needed for food, shelter, and clothing. Palmetto was used for thatch on hunting shelters as well as their permanent housing. The Muskogee people utilized pine needles for baskets, clay for pottery, thistles for darts, flint for arrows, and plants for medicine in order to survive and maintain their way of life. Here a Muskogee elder shows the use of palmetto to create a sturdy rope. Prior to contact with the Europeans, the Muskogee people used moss for thread and clothing. Falling Waters is the tallest waterfall in the state of Florida. The Muskogee people used its many caves and caverns during and after the removal. Legend tells of a Muskogee woman who hid in the caves during a battle between the government soldiers and a group of Muskogee people. Her husband told her to hide and wait for him. Long after the sounds of battle had ended, the woman came out of hiding only to find her husband had been killed by the soldiers. In desperation and sorrow, she hung herself in a nearby tree which would become known as the Indian Oak. Holmes Creek is the large waterway which makes its way through the center of the Muskogee community. It has always been home to the Muskogee people, then along its banks, and now in the surrounding areas and towns. It is believed to be the location of the murder of Chief Holmes by a raiding party ordered by Andrew Jackson. Legend then tells that the body of Chief Holmes was then buried in an unmarked grave along the path of the banks. Muskogee people were not primarily nomadic. They traditionally lived in cabins built in groups of 4, which included a summer house, winter house, cook house, and storehouse, all facing each other in the square pattern. During the tribe's annual school days, you can see the living history village come alive, depicting the Muskogee life in the early 1800s. The Muskogee people were farmers traditionally and even today. Foods of the typical Muskogee family consisted of corn, squash, peas, and pumpkin, along with fish, rabbit, and venison. The life of Muskogee people would change drastically during and after the removal. They would be forced to give up their land and leave everything they knew behind. In order to be allowed to remain in the East, some would join the church. Built in 1857, the Moss Hill Church reflects the Muskogee community's influence in its style of doorways, seating arrangements, and altars. The church is still in use today and is primarily unchanged from its original building. It still reflects the Muskogee style and square patterns, even though possibly unnoticed to an untrained eye. Our Muskogee ancestors fought hard to keep the ways of our people for generations they would never see. It was important that the heritage and culture be passed down through their stories, ceremonies, and beliefs. This was given to us as a gift from our elders, but it was a gift that at times would cost them everything, sometimes even their lives. The Muskogee elders today continue to tell the stories of a proud and determined people. As with tradition, Muskogee families continue to live within the same communities. Looking back down the old paths of those who have walked before us is the only way for a better future for Muskogee generations of tomorrow. The Lower Muskogee Creek Tribe is led by Principal Chief Marion McCormick. She was elected to office in 1992 and continues to work on behalf of the tribe, developing programs for economic development and in support of the projects within the tribal government. The Lower Muskogee Creek Tribe was awarded the 121 grant initially in 2000 and has continued to use this opportunity to change the lives of not only American Indians with disabilities, but to bring hope and inspiration to future generations. The MVR Project is housed within the Tribal Administration Building at Tama Reservation, as well as maintaining a satellite office in Northwest Florida. The project operates under the guidance of Dr. Christina Venable, who serves as the project director. She not only brings with her over 50 years of vocational rehabilitation experience, but also a complete cultural understanding as she serves as the tribal clan mother and historian. The MVR Project has a wonderful working relationship with state vocational rehabilitation programs. MVR hosts training in diversity annually for the VR employees to assist them with better understanding the delivery of services for Native Americans with disabilities. This training is always a great time and lots of fun as they learn some of the Muskogee language, songs, and crafts, along with the seriousness of learning the struggles faced by the Muskogee people with disabilities in their daily life. The MVR Project provides culturally appropriate vocational rehabilitation services, including an elder mentor program. Muskogee Pottery is one aspect of the program, and here you can see an elder demonstrating not only the art of molding clay, but also the use and need for traditional clay beads within the ceremonial context. Clay beads are used by Muskogee women in their daily lives as well as ceremonies. Another elder teaches the art and cultural representation of Muskogee patchwork. Ceremonial clothing is made primarily of patchwork. Whether using a life pattern or clan symbol, it always tells the story. Other classes offered by our elder mentors include beadwork, leatherwork, basket weaving from pine needles, wood carving, and flint knapping. One of the most utilized aspects of the MVR project is the wellness program. It is our belief that a holistic approach to success is imperative. We must first learn to walk in balance with ourselves as well as others. The wellness program also incorporates the use of our ceremonial activities. The MVR project has assisted hundreds of American Indians with disabilities to return to and train for employment. We are proud of the impact we are making with today's clients and tomorrow's future. The MVR project works towards changing lives for success. Just as those who came before us, we are continuing to share the traditions and legacy of our culture. This will ensure continued growth to carry on the stories of our ancestors. This is necessary for our survival, so that future generations will walk in the old ways among the lands of their people.